Rather large, welcome back to Cossy Podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to brand new video. We're going to be diving into the latest around Arsenal. And in this video, we are talking Mikel Arteta and Edu are trying to raise up to 200 million euros in player sales this summer. Now, we have already spent in excess of 250 million euros in this window. It means that we will have to bridge that gap by raising huge amounts of money in sales as well. So in this video, we are looking at 9 players Arsenal are going to sell. Actually, we might sell up to 10 players this summer. Where they're going to go and how much we are going to get them. And the big question, can Arsenal raise up to 200 million euros in the players that we want to sell, including the likes of Nicola Pepe, Cedric Soares, players whose value on the market is not that huge, but probably with good negotiation, we could get some good amounts of money. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. Now, because our business is still on, it means that the prowess and the better we sell in this market, it will be the better we get another signing. So if Arsenal do their business very well in terms of outgoings, there is a possibility that we could sign another player. If we can raise up to 150 million euros by the end of this month, or probably by the end of the window, Arsenal could see another signing, another major signing come through the door. Now, let's start off with Florin Balogun, because Balogun is the hottest property on the market. Is our hottest asset, and there is kind of division. I've been talking to a few people, Arsenal fans, and they feel Balogun should stay. Now, initially, I thought Balogun should stay because I thought Mikel Arteta literally held all the bullets, but I think it is not like that. Florin Balogun actually in this instance holds more bullet and more dangerous bullets as compared to Arsenal. So the players decided that his future is no longer at Arsenal. He wants to go, and he wants to go somewhere where he can play regular football and he can play every single week. I've suggested 3 teams in the Italian Serie A, and I've suggested 3 teams in the Premier League, and then we're going to select one where Florin Balogun should go and where we can get the most amount of money, right? So let's start off with the Italian Serie A. AC Milan are interested. I think AC Milan really make it to the shortlist in terms of clubs that need a striker and where Balogun can go and further his career. Inter Milan is the second one. After losing Edin Dzeko, they'll be looking to bring in some kind of backup to Lautaro Martinez and maybe Lukaku. So probably Balogun could also be one player to think about. And of course Napoli, who have also said that they would be interested in signing him if Victor Osimhen leaves. In the Premier League, West Ham are no secret to be interested in signing Florin Balogun. Crystal Palace are also interested in signing Balogun as well. But I would choose Brighton for Balogun if he was going to go to the Premier League. Now, all these teams are great destinations for Arsenal. I think all of them do have some kind of financial power to spend money in this summer. I don't think we have talked about any broke club right in this video. So none of those clubs is broke. All of them can spend money to sign Florin Balogun. But the one club I will go for is AC Milan. That is the club I will go for Florin Balogun, and this is purely selfish. This is purely in the light of Arsenal getting the maximum revenue out of Florin Balogun. So I think Florin Balogun is worth 50 million euros. There is no question about that. Any team that tries to sign him should definitely think about 50 to 55 million euros. Now, Milan have sold Sandro Tonali for in excess of 60 million euros. They brought in Robin Loftus-Cheek. They brought in Christian Pulisic. Like the signings they are making, they've also brought in some guy on a free. It shows you that there is some kind of void that AC Milan need to fill. Now, they're champions. They were champions in 2022 of the Italian Serie A. And I think they will need to either challenge Napoli to their championship status, or they will want to win the title again. I think Florin Balogun would be a very good addition. So Milan have the money, and we are not talking about 50 million euros to be spent across one window. And I think they are still selling Milan. I won't be surprised if Theo Hernandez is sold. I won't be surprised if they sell Mike Maignan, the goalkeeper. I won't be surprised if they sell some other important player, an important part of that squad. So with the sale of Tonali, they do have the money. They can pay 50 million euros for Florian Balogun across maybe 3 years, in my opinion. We can also give them a deal of signing him on a loan deal for the whole season, but with an obligation to sign him on a permanent for 55 million euros. They're Italian, they'll take the deal, and we will actually benefit. So that is 50 million euros in the bank. The next one for me is Thomas Partey. It is very, very, very sad for me to say this, but Thomas Partey is going to leave Arsenal. We know, no. It's the same thing we've talked about. Xhaka leaving, and eventually left, and like, the story's over. It's the end of the story. He's a Leverkusen guy. Unless we play Leverkusen in Europe someday, we will not actually talk about Granit Xhaka ever again, okay? Now, Thomas Partey is one that is interesting. He's already 30, which actually puts him at a bigger disadvantage as compared to Florian Balogun, who's only 20, but there is value there. His contract has 2 more years to go. He's a player who's not desperately, falling out with the club. So it's going to take a huge amount of convincing and a huge fee to tell Arsenal that this is the right amount to sell. In my opinion, Thomas Partey is worth 50 million euros. That's around 42 million pounds if you do the conversion, and that is all right by me. 50 million euros, I think any club in Saudi Arabia will be able to pay this much. Now, if he decides to go to Monaco, if he decides to go to Juve, if he decides to go to Atletico Madrid, we are actually not going to get that money. So I've put forward 3 names and 3 clubs that should sign Thomas Partey for Arsenal to get the 50 million euros. Clubs that don't think money is a problem. And number 1 is obviously Al Khaliji. Now, they are the top contenders in trying to sign him. They want him. They really feel he's the player that is missing in their mix. And of course, they're signing these huge names, players that have already made a name for themselves at Arsenal and Europe. And to be honest, I think with Thomas Partey, he's one of those that you're not signing just the name, you're also signing a player. There is a player in there, okay? So Thomas Partey to Al Khaliji. I've also suggested Al Nassr, and I've also suggested Al Hilal. Those are the 3 clubs that I think Thomas Partey could go, and we can get our 50 million euros. To be honest, if he goes to a club in Europe, because of the finances of clubs in Europe, FFP and all that, we might not even get 30 million euros from this guy. We might not even get 30 million euros. But if he goes there to Saudi Arabia, I reckon it will be minimum 40 million euros. So that is another 50 million euros in the bank, and that's already 100 million euros. Number 4 is Edin Ketia, and Edin Ketia, I've gone with the price tag of 40 million euros as well. If you want to raise money, if you want to raise revenue from player sales, you've got to be ruthless in the market, especially when it comes to your young talents. Now, Eddie is not young. He's coming of age. I think he's approaching 24, 25. He's one of those players that have steadily grown, but their careers are getting stuck a little bit. Now, I think Edin Ketia would be your Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, your Alexander Iwobi. Like, anyone who signs him will definitely be shy to mention anything below 35 million euros. And that's where Arsenal have got to skyrocket the price in negotiation to ask for around 55 million euros so that we can agree a deal on 40 million euros. Edin Ketia can even go for above 40 million euros, okay? So for me, I've suggested 3 teams here for Edin Ketia, West Ham being one of them. They've been linked with this guy. They've flirted with Edin Ketia. Why doesn't he go there? Brighton is the second one. I think they will need a striker, Brighton. They will need a guy who has done it in Europe. They will need a guy who has done it in the Premier League. And this guy is absolutely, just a call away. And of course, Crystal Palace as well. Now, my problem with Crystal Palace is the nature in which they spend their money. They do love a black player. They treat them very well, and it's one of those clubs that I just have a positive attitude towards just because of their culture. But then I don't think they're going to spend 40 million euros on Edin Ketia. They can, but I don't think they will. West Ham on the other side, Come on, West Ham. You've got 105 million pounds from the sale of Declan Rice to Arsenal. I think if you're going to get a striker the caliber of Eddie Nketiah, he would be a nice shout. Like, he would be a very nice shout, at West Ham. He just offers something different. He's, he's good at spinning off the shoulders, running off the shoulders. He's also a pressing monster. And in terms of finishing, for a club like West Ham, he's going to guarantee you 10 to 12 goals per campaign, just like Mikel Antonio. There will be those exceptional seasons where he will score like 17, 18. But on average, Eddie Nketiah is your daily, seasonal 12 goal machine. West Ham, they have the money, they can give us that. So that is 140 million euros already in the bank. Let's move over to Robert Holding. Now, with Rob, I'm confused. I have to be honest. I'm really confused. I cannot understand what his true market value is. Like, one thing I'm really sure of is that ever since him signing for Arsenal, under Arsene Wenger for around 4 million euros, his price has gone up a little bit. Like, I think he's around 10 to 15 million euros. And he's one of those centre backs that I won't be surprised if someone came in and scooped him for 25 million euros. I won't be like, ooh, because he's English, you have that English premium, and he's not the worst centre back in the world. But the problem is that every time we get a chance to sell him, we actually decline. This summer, it should be the last time it's the last chance we have to sell him. And for me, I've gone with 15 million euros. Now, there are 3 clubs that I've suggested. One is Besiktas, who are already flirting with him, but they want to sign him on a loan deal. They're purely shameless. How do you even think that you can sign a player like Rob Holding on a loan deal? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So that is out. But Besiktas, if they can spend about 15 to 18 million euros, they can get that deal done. The other team I've suggested Rob Holding for is, sadly, quite very, very sadly, West Ham. Now, I think with West Ham, they do not desperately need a player to start because they have Agard and Zuma. That partnership is quite strong. But because they are... they're trying to, kind of rebuild. They will not need that squad depth. We know they have a problem with squad depth. They will need the squad depth. And they're in Europe as well. They're going to play in the Europa League. I'm not saying Rob Holding should play for them in the Europa League. Don't make that mistake. You will regret it. But all I'm saying is that in terms of squad depth, they can afford that extra 15 million, that extra 12 million euros on a player like Rob Holding. And I would say... best destination for him is either Besiktas or West Ham. Now, why I would say Besiktas is because at Besiktas, he's a guaranteed starter. He goes there, he starts every single game. At West Ham, Naif Agard and Zuma are the starters. You've got to wait for them, okay? But I think any of those two can give us 15 million euros, and that raises the amount to 155 million euros. Okay. Next on the list is Cedric Soares. Cedric could live on a free, in my opinion, but around 5 million euros to 7 million euros is good. So I've gone with 5 million euros for Cedric Soares, and the probable destination, I have one that is West Ham. Fulham. West Ham. That is Fulham. Now, he was there on loan, and it's another team that are going to be affected by the second season syndrome. So they will need players, they will need options, and they will need squad depth, right? They burn out. They played with a lot of tenacity, intensity last season, and they are liable to fall out and fall sick due to burnout, okay? So they will need new options. They will need players with Premier League experience, and they will need tougher players. I think Cedric is a tough player. Not tough enough to play for Arsenal, but is surely tough enough to play for Fulham. I think they should sign him. They should give us 5 million euros, and we raise that figure up to now 260 million euros. That is not bad. That is not bad. That is very close to around 200 million. Of course, I'm not saying that all these figures are going to come out the way I'm talking about them, but in terms of market values, that is where we are. Next one on the list, another prized asset is Nuno Tavares. Tavares is a player that wants to stay at Arsenal. He's been out on loan at Olympique Marseille. Arsenal really failed and refused to, agree a deal with Marseille so that he could actually sign on a permanent. It means one or two things. One, Mikel Arteta sees him as a long-term player in his project, or he sees him as a player who is going to be there for the selling. Now, I think Tavares, if we want to raise money, Tavares is one player to sell. Like, we signed him last summer was it last summer? Or last summer but one, okay. 2 summers ago for 10 million euros. And we could potentially make a 15 million euro profit on him if we sell him at 25 million euros. West Ham are the club interested. Olympique Marseille are also interested as well. Now, if Marseille are interested in signing Tavares, I would be okay for him to go there if they can splash the 30 million euros. But if West Ham have the money, and we know they do, and they're willing to splash it on Tavares, I'll definitely go for West Ham. So 30 million euros, that raises our money to 290 million euros. Albert Sambi Lokonga and Nicola Pepe as well are two players that could be leaving. Now, Lokonga to Burnley. Around 15 million euros will do the deal. And Nicola Pepe to Lille Metropole. I think Lille would want to sign him if the price is low, at around 10 million euros or even less than that. So if we look at this market, of course, there are few players that I've overrated here, like maybe Partey. Partey could go for around 30 million euros. Maybe Edin Ketia could go around 35 million euros, not 40. But there is a huge possibility that Arsenal will make more than 200 million euros if we are serious in negotiation and selling in this summer.